not take the examination, then you cannot take the examination. But if allowance is there, even if allowance is there, it is with the higher money you pay. And if the attendance is less than 50, then nobody is allowed. The student with the attendance less than 50% in any class will not be allowed to take the examination in that particular class. Other where his or her attendance is okay, he or she can take examination. But in that particular subject where the attendance is less than 50%, and we have cases. We have already some cases where the attendance was less than 50% and they had to repeat the semester. So these are very important rules. Okay. Next, we come to facilitations, the interruption of studies. So you know that sometimes it can happen that you do not want to continue your study for some particular semester. So we allow this. For example, something happens. If you, God forbid, become ill, or there are some social problems or family problems, or you want to discontinue. Although I would not recommend you, suggest you to discontinue studies for a whole 6 months, but at least this is allowed. And what are the rules? The study can be interrupted by application to the respective to the chairman at the start of the semester, and maximum duration of interruption must not be longer than the normal duration. Certainly, if BS has to be completed in 4 years, then you cannot freeze it. We call it freezing. Freeze your studies for 5 years, because then you will not be able to get the degree. So it must be less than the normal duration for in respective programs. And studies can be interrupted, cannot be interrupted more than twice. So it cannot happen that, for example, you want to interrupt your studies, you did it for the first time, we allowed you, for example, and then you resumed, you again wanted to interrupt, you again interrupted or freeze the semester, you again resumed, for the third time it will not be allowed. So keep in mind that only for 2 times it is allowed to freeze your semesters or freeze your studies, and not longer than the normal duration of the studies. So this is the rules for, these are the rules for interruption of studies. And then we go to the advisement. As I told you, advisement is something which we feel proud of. That the advisement, at least in our department, Department of Physics, is very strong. Which means we have assigned to each and every student a faculty member with whom you can talk, to whom you go to the office hours, in office hours to the office, and you discuss how to plan your studies. Different kind of problems. If you do not understand different things, you have some social problems or some other problems, you can talk to your advisor, and that advisor will help you to minimize those problems and will suggest you which will help you to organize your studies. So every student is assigned an advisor, which is a faculty member. Advisor helps the students to prepare a study plan. Advisor maintains a complete record of a student, that your documents, everything. It is anyway maintained on our online system, which you can have access. And as a chairman and as an advisor, your advisor also has an access to your account where he or she can check your documents and everything. No course registration is possible without the role of advisor. You have already experienced that if there is advisor does not allow you, you cannot register a course. So it is with the mutual consultation with your advisor. For some courses you register, you have to talk to your advisor, and then if he or she proves that okay, these courses you shall register, then we allow for that registration. So please take advantage of this advisement. Talk to your advisor quite often, almost, if not every day, every other day, and always try to have some piece of advice from him or her, so that you have a better arrangement of your activities. The next is the credit system, I think the most important thing. And here we have several things which I will be talking one by one. So first of all, how we evaluate the course, how we credit the course. So every credit course, every course is credited in terms of the credit hours. And what does the credit hour mean? This needs some explanation. And this is done over here. Credit hours are determined in terms of class hours, which means teaching, which means the contact hours, where a teacher comes and delivers a lecture or arranges some other activities in the class. It is usually 50 minutes per class for undergrads. And this is explained in this bracket, some digits in bracket. There are 3 digits in this bracket. And this explains the credit hours. For example, this first digit over here, which is 3, it can be anything, actually tells you that how many contact hours per week for this class you have to go through. This means theory contact hour. So this first digit is actually theory contact hour. So usually we have 3 contact hours. So this course will have 3 contact hours. For example, you have a class on Monday, which is of 50 minutes. 10 minutes are break actually. It's not 60 minutes. It's 50 minutes of activity and 10 minutes of break. Then, for example, you have class on Wednesday for another 50 minutes. And then, for example, on Thursday, another 50 minutes. This will actually earn you 3 contact hours. The next digit is a lab contact hour. So some courses have labs or independent labs. Then you have to spend some time in the lab. So for this course, actually there are 3 hours. Again, 50 minutes. You have to spend in the lab. Okay? And the last one is the actual credit hour. Now there is a rule. For the theory 1 contact hour, that is 150 minutes, you earn 1 credit hour. So 150 minutes of lecturing or theory activity actually is equivalent to 1 credit hour. But the lab is little less. If you spend 3 hours in the lab, that will earn you 1 credit hour. So it is little less. In 3 hours in the lab is 1 credit hour, but 1 hour in the class is 1 credit hour. So in this course, you see that 3 credit hours comes from here and 1 credit hours come from here. So the total makes 4. So this is very important information which you have to read before you register any course. That how many contact hours are needed per week, everything is per week. And how many lab hours are needed per week and how many credit hours in academics. No credits are given to the tutorials. If there are some sort of seminars or tutorials, then we usually do not grade them. They don't carry any grades, any credit hours. They are just the activity which enhances your ability but not counted towards the total hours you take in the university. The other information about the courses is the course code. And this course code is a very comprehensive information. It contains almost all information you need about that course. But you need to understand these coding system, which especially we implement in CUST. For example, every course is identified with alphanumeric, where alphanumeric means that there is some alphabets which we take from the subject, and it is not for the department, it is for the subject. So this PHY is actually representing the subject of the physics. So this means this introductory mechanics is the course of physics. Okay, this PHY, the first alphabetic part of this code, telling us that PHY is the physics course. Then you can see there are 3 digits again, and every digit has meaning, and you need to understand what this means. This first digit is actually called a difficulty level. It's a level of the difficulty of the course. So if it is 1, it means it's a very basic course, usually taught in first or second semester. But if it is 2, then it means it's a little difficult, more than the first, we call 100 level, now it becomes 200 level. But if it becomes 3, it is even more difficult. The difficulty level is rising with the higher digit. And 4, for BS program, 4 will be the last digit, which is the most difficult course, for example. And then for MPhil, the 5 and then 6, and for PhD, it is 7 and 8. And 9 is reserved for the research. So this first digit is actually telling me how difficult this course is. So this is very basic course, it's not that difficult. It means it's an introductory type of course. The second digit, the middle digit, is telling me the area, the subfield inside the physics or any subject to which that course is related. For example, if it is an introductory course, we usually give it a 0 digit. But for example, it's a quantum mechanics course, we give it a 1 digit. But if it is a MMP course or mathematics related course, we may give it a digit 2. So every subfield of physics has particular digit, which reflects, for example, a course having a digit 3 might reflect that it is some kind of mathematical course. Okay? Or a course middle digit having, let's say, 4, it reflects it's a computational course. Or digit 5 may reflect it is the, let's say, mechanics course. So this middle digit tells you the specified area, the specialized field, and we have the list of these specified fields from where you can read and you can see that this course is related to which subfield of physics. Okay. The next digit 1, it is a sequence digit. For example, you have a course which is in 2 parts. For example, 1 and 2. Then we usually give digit 1 to the first course and 2 to the second course. For example, introductory mechanics have 2 parts. So introductory mechanics 1 will have PHY 101 and introductory mechanics 2 will have PHY 102. So same level, same introduction, but the second course. So this third digit means the level of the course, the sequence of the course. So if it is PHY 101, it is the first course of introductory mechanics. If PHY 102, then it is the second course of the introductory mechanics. Okay? So if you read, if you see that the course codes in your when you register, from this code you have the complete information. If you have the list of the middle digits, then what kind of course it is, what kind of information it will be there. Okay. Then the degree requirements, the most important. This is for the undergraduate. What things you have to do to get the degree? For example, the CGPA, I will explain afterwards that what the GPA is and how we can calculate the GPA. That's important to learn. At least you can check where your own GPA. Sometimes it can happen that the system has made a mistake and then you will not be aware that your GPA is not correct. So you can at least check for yourself what GPA is. But at least in the degree undergraduate program, you have to have a cumulative grade point average greater than 2 or equal to 2. If it is less than 2, you will not be allowed a degree. You will not get a degree. So keep in mind, greater than 2 is the requirement. And the minimum credit hours you need to complete to get the degree. For BS, it is 136, 130 to 136. Otherwise, HEC will not recognize your degree. And it contains major 60. It is the minimum. We have at least 90 to 100 majors, which means the subjects of physics. Major means which are related to the physics. And then we have 21 minors and some multidisciplinary as well. For example, courses from chemistry, courses from computer science. These are multidisciplinary. For mathematics, for example, minor are, for example, course from English, Islamiyat or Pak study. These are the minor courses. And MSc will have 66 to 72 courses, okay? 72 credit hours.